Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Today we're cracking open Amazon's 2022 shareholder letter, kind of like peeking into the mind of Andy Jassy, their CEO. We've actually got TWO letters for you today.
Oh, that's right. We've got Jassy's recent one, AND. Just for kicks, we've dug up Jeff Bezos' original letter from way back in 97.
It's a pretty cool combo, right?
Hmm.
We can trace those early Amazon ideas and see how they're holding up now as the company's tackling a whole different set of challenges and those bets they're making on the future. Bold doesn't even begin to cover it.
I mean, where do we even start? We're talking pandemic, hangovers, a shaky economy, grocery delivery going interstellar, space-based internet, and they're even messing around with AI that can write code for you. It's mind-blowing.
No kidding. It's a lot to unpack, but Jassy kind of sets the scene right off the bat. He's not shying away from the fact that 2022 was a bit of a roller coaster for Amazon. Huge growth during the pandemic, then things cooled off, the economy got weird. They had to pivot, like, fast. He doesn't try to sugarcoat it at all. It's very much a, yeah, things got tough, but we've weathered storms before kind of vibe.
Totally. He even points back to how Amazon navigated those earlier rough patches, the dot-com crash, the 2008 recession. You can almost hear him saying, hey, we made the tough calls back then, streamlined where we needed to, and came out swinging. We can do it again.
And that's the thing. They did more than just survive. They thrived. Like during the dot-com crash, talk about risky moves. They secured those lines of credit so they'd have inventory for the holidays, right?
They did. And they also lowered prices like crazy while somehow making their operations leaner and meaner to, actually turn a profit. Seemed counterintuitive, but it worked.
And then 2008 hits. Everyone's panicking, cutting back. And what do? They double down on this brand new thing called AWS Amazon Web Services, their cloud platform. Talk about vision.
Crazy, right? AWS is this $85 billion behemoth now, but back then, it was a total gamble. But that's Amazon, for you. They're willing to make these huge out-there bets that end up reshaping entire industries.
And it just goes to show you, long-term vision matters. You got to be willing to play the long game, even when there's pressure to deliver instant results. It's a theme you see woven through both those letters, the 2022 one and Bezos is from 97. They echo each other in that sense.
So we've got the historical context, this we've seen it all before attitude. But Jassy also gets down to brass tacks about some of their recent moves. Closing physical stores, hitting pause on certain projects, even tweaking things like free shipping on groceries, which, felt a little sacred.
Right, she talks about shuttering things like Amazon Books, their 4-star stores, even putting a halt on projects like Amazon Care. And yeah, even adjustments to free grocery shipping. But he's framing these as strategic choices, not just cost-cutting measures.
So it's less about panic and more about, okay, where's the real future growth? It's about redirecting those resources to where they think they'll have the biggest impact down the line.
Exactly. They're doubling down on what they believe will be the winners in the long run. And speaking of focusing on the future, can we talk about that return to office mandate? That definitely sparked some, well, lively debate, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Tons of companies are all in on remote work these days, but Jassy seems pretty set on bringing people back to the office. It's like he's swimming upstream a little.
He is. But his reasoning is pretty interesting. He genuinely believes those in-person collaborations, those spontaneous moments you can only get when you're physically together, are key for the kind of innovation that's core to Amazon's DNA.
So he's willing to buck the trend, even if it ruffles some feathers. But isn't he worried about talent? Especially now, with everyone wanting that remote flexibility, it seems like a big risk.
He acknowledges that, yeah. But he's making a calculated bet. He thinks those in-person benefits outweigh those concerns. He even talks about how those off-the-cuff moments, like riffing on each other's ideas, lead to those aha moments, the breakthroughs. It's about nurturing their unique culture. And he seems convinced that happens best in person.
So it's a long-term play. He's banking on that in-person magic paying off down the road.
Exactly. And you can't really argue with Amazon's track record when it comes to making bold bets. Their history speaks for itself.
Okay, let's shift gears for a sec. We got to talk about Amazon's fulfillment network. That thing went into overdrive during the pandemic. It's practically a planet unto itself now.
It's practically the size of UPS at this point.
All right.
But scaling up that fast, even though it was necessary to keep up with the demand surge, it also introduced, well, some inefficiencies, let's say. Jassy's pretty upfront about the fact that they're working hard to streamline this massive, sprawling network.
Yeah, it makes sense. And part of that streamlining involves moving away from a national fulfillment network, right? They're going regional.
You got it. They're creating these interconnected regional hubs, which has a bunch of advantages. Costs go down, delivery times get shorter, and even the environmental impact shrinks.
So faster, cheaper, and better for the planet. That's a triple win. But what does it actually mean for me, the person clicking buy now?
Think more same-day and next-day delivery options. They're making those super fast shipping speeds the new normal, not just a special treat.
Okay, so they're streamlining operations, speeding up deliveries, but they're also this absolute juggernaut in the cloud space with AWS. That brought in something like, what, $85 billion last year?
85 billion on the nose.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling. But here's what's even crazier. Jassy says AWS is still in the early stages of adoption. Early.
Wait, seriously, but it's already enormous. How can it be early?
I know, right? It's kind of counterintuitive, but there's a ton of growth potential still out there. And their approach to AWS in this current economic climate, it's fascinating.
Okay, lay it on me. This is where it gets really interesting.
So instead of squeezing more out of their existing customers, trying to maximize revenue while things are a bit shaky, they're doing the opposite. They're actually helping customers optimize their cloud spending, find ways to save money. It's pretty wild.
Hold up, really? Why would they do that? It doesn't make sense from a purely financial standpoint.
It seems counterproductive in the short term, yeah. But again, they're playing that long game. They're building trust, strengthening relationships, and betting that this approach will lead to even more loyalty and growth down the line.
So it's like they're saying, hey, we're all in this together. Let's help each other out. It's a refreshingly collaborative approach.
It is. And beyond just good vibes, there are a few other factors fueling that AWS growth engine. They're constantly attracting new customers. They're helping orchestrate those massive migrations to the cloud. And then there's just this insane pace of innovation happening within AWS itself. It's like they're constantly upping their game.
Speaking of upping their game, what's the story with those custom chips Jassy keeps mentioning? Graviton and Inferentia, right?
Those are their secret weapons. Chips designed specifically for the cloud, giving them control over performance and costs that most competitors can only dream of, which ultimately benefits their customers, by the way.
So it's like a secret weapon that actually helps everyone?
Pretty much. It shows how serious they are about their cloud business and how far they'll go to stay ahead of the curve.
So AWS, even though it's already a massive success story, they're not just coasting. It feels like they're just getting warmed up.
And that's classic Amazon. Never satisfied, always looking for the next big thing. It's a hunger that's pretty remarkable.
And speaking of the next big thing, let's move beyond the familiar world of retail and online shopping. Jassy hints at some pretty exciting ventures that are a bit further afield. What are they up to? So we've covered a ton of ground already. Amazon's history, those recent moves, how they're approaching AWS. But what about those other ventures Jassy keeps hinting at? The ones that are a little, well, less obvious.
Some of them make total sense, given where Amazon already excels. Like international expansion is huge for them. They're seeing crazy growth in places like the UK, Germany, Japan. And then they're pouring resources into newer markets like India, Brazil, Mexico.
It's like world domination, the Amazon way.
Pretty much. And then there's the whole grocery thing. They've got Whole Foods, of course, but they're also tinkering with new models like Amazon Fresh. They're still trying to crack that mass grocery market, though. It's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, grocery is a whole different beast. So much competition. But you'd think with Amazon's logistics network, they'd have a leg up.
And they do. That's where Buy with Prime comes in. They're essentially letting other online retailers tap into their Prime shipping and fulfillment network.
So, like, if I'm shopping on some random website and I see a Buy with Prime button, it means I'm getting that same speedy, reliable Amazon shipping I'm used to.
Exactly. And for those retailers, it's a no-brainer. Amazon says it boosts their conversion rates by like 25%. It's a brilliant move, really. They're leveraging what they're already amazing at and creating a win-win for everyone involved.
Smart. It's like they're saying, look, we're the logistics masters. Let us handle this for you. Okay, but what about those really out there bets Jassy mentions? The ones that are a little unexpected, to say the least.
Ah, yes. The ventures that really show you how far they're willing to stretch. He highlights two in particular, Amazon Healthcare and Project Kuiper.
Healthcare. Now that's a whole different ball game than selling books and gadgets.
It is, but it's a massive market, and it's ripe for, well, let's call it the Amazon treatment. They're starting with their acquisition of One Medical, which gives them a foothold in primary care.
So they're jumping right into the doctor's office, huh? Bold move.
The goal is to use technology to smooth out every part of the patient experience. Think virtual checkups, easy appointment booking, even connecting with specialists. It's early days, but they're clearly serious about making healthcare more user-friendly, more accessible. It's about bringing that signature Amazon experience,
Hmm.
ease of use, convenience, customer satisfaction to the world of healthcare.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But Project Kuiper, that one sounds straight out of science fiction.
It does, right? They're basically building this network of satellites to provide affordable internet access to communities all over the world, especially those that are underserved right now.
Space internet? I mean, why get into that business?
It's a bold move, sure, but think about the potential. It's about bridging the digital divide, giving millions of people access to things we take for granted: education, healthcare, economic opportunities. It's a moonshot, for sure, but it aligns perfectly with their history of tackling huge, ambitious problems and using technology to make a real difference.
Wow. It's an incredibly powerful vision. But even for Amazon, these are huge gambles. Healthcare is notoriously complex, and space internet. Well, that just sounds like a logistical nightmare.
You're not wrong. There are definitely risks. But risk-taking seems baked into Amazon's DNA. They're willing to make those big bets on what they believe in, even if it means going way outside their comfort zone.
I guess when you've got Amazon's resources, you can afford to take a few swings. But with all these new ventures popping up, it makes you wonder, what's the overarching strategy? Are they just chasing every shiny object that comes along?
That's a great question. And it brings us back to that Bezos letter from '97, the one Jassy decided to include with his letter this year. It's almost like he's reminding everyone, hey, remember our core principles. It's about grounding themselves in their philosophy, in what they've always stood for.
So it's not about chasing trends, it's about sticking to their core values and letting those guide their decisions.
Absolutely. Bezos laid out this incredibly long-term view back then, emphasizing customer value above short-term profits, the importance of being bold and innovative, constantly learning, constantly adapting. It's like their playbook, their blueprint for success.
And you can see how those principles are still driving them today, right? From their approach to AWS to those big swings on healthcare and space internet.
Exactly. It's about finding those sweet spots where they can leverage their superpowers, their tech expertise, their logistics network, their customer-centric approach to build something truly valuable, even if it means venturing into uncharted territory.
So they're not just throwing darts at a board, hoping something sticks. These are calculated bets, guided by a clear set of principles. It's actually a very disciplined approach.
It is. And Jassy actually breaks down their investment philosophy pretty explicitly in his letter. They ask themselves some tough questions when they're considering new opportunities. Could it be huge? Could it have a solid return on investment? Is the market underserved? Do we have a unique approach? Do we even have the skills for this? And if not, can we learn them fast?
Those are some serious questions. They're not messing around.
Nope. They're not just chasing the next hot thing. They're looking for opportunities that align with their core values, where they genuinely believe they can make a difference. And that's pretty cool.
So it's this blend of long-term vision, customer focus, and a willingness to be bold and innovative. That's a powerful combo, and you can see how it's gotten them to where they are today.
But it's not all about the big picture, right? They're constantly innovating on a smaller scale, too, delivering value to customers in those everyday interactions.
You mean like how they're always tweaking their website, adding new features, making the whole shopping experience smoother?
Exactly. And remember, that move to a regionalized fulfillment network, that wasn't just some abstract concept. It was about tangible benefits for customers. Faster shipping, more choices, a smaller environmental footprint.
And it's working. My Amazon deliveries are arriving faster than ever. It's like magic.
They're aiming for their fastest Prime delivery speeds ever this year. It's all about exceeding expectations, and they're constantly finding new ways to do that.
And a lot of that innovation is fueled by technology, right? Jassy devotes a good chunk of his letter to AI and machine learning. It's like he sees it as this transformative force impacting every corner of their business.
He does. And he's right. It's hard to overstate how significant AI is becoming. It's already reshaping the world as we know it.
I'll admit I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole AI thing. It seems like everyone's talking about it, but it can feel pretty abstract. What's got Jassy so fired up?
He's particularly excited about large language models, LLMs. Think of them as superpowered AI that can understand and generate human-like text. It's pretty mind-blowing. And then there's generative AI, which takes it even further. It can create things like images, music, even write code.
Okay, now we're getting into sci-fi territory. Can you give me a real-world example of this stuff in action, something I might actually encounter?
Sure. You know how Netflix recommends shows you might like, or Spotify creates those personalized playlists? That's AI at work. It's using data to understand your preferences and predict what you'll enjoy. It's happening all around us.
Okay, so it's not just some futuristic concept. It's already woven into our daily lives. I'm starting to get it.
Exactly. And Amazon's using these technologies for everything, from personalizing product recommendations to optimizing their warehouses to, get this, even writing code for their developers.
AI is writing code now. That's both amazing and kind of terrifying.
It is pretty wild. Jassy even talks about this tool called Code Whisperer, which literally writes code alongside developers, helping them be more productive and build better software. It's like having an AI partner in crime.
Wow. I'm starting to see the potential here. This AI thing is more than just hype. It's a genuine game changer.
Jassy thinks LLMs and generative AI are going to be massive for customers, for shareholders, for Amazon itself. He even says it could be as transformative as AWS was back in the day.
Another potential AWS. That's a bold statement.
It is. But Amazon's got a track record of making those bold statements and then exceeding expectations. And the interesting thing is, they're not just keeping AI to themselves, they're making those tools available to other businesses through AWS.
So they're not just innovating for themselves, they're empowering others to innovate too.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, we believe in the power of this technology and we want everyone to benefit from it. And that's pretty awesome.
Okay, so we've got those new ventures, the AI revolution, the constant focus on improving the customer experience. But let's circle back to those big, audacious bets, healthcare and that satellite internet project. Those are still pretty mind-blowing.
Right. They're still in the early stages, but they have the potential to be truly disruptive. With healthcare, they're using their acquisition of One Medical to get a foot in the door of primary care. Their aim is to use technology to streamline everything from booking appointments to connecting with specialists. It's ambitious, but if anyone can pull it off, it's probably Amazon.
It's tough industry, that's for sure. But you can see how Amazon's experience in logistics and customer service could give them a real edge.
Absolutely. And then there's Project Kuiper, aiming to bring high-speed internet to underserved communities worldwide
Yeah.
using a network of satellites. It's a bold, ambitious project. If they can pull it off, it could have a huge impact on bridging the digital divide and connecting millions who are currently left behind.
It's like they're trying to connect the whole planet, which kind of echoes their old Earth's biggest bookstore tagline, except now it's more like Earth's biggest everything store, including space internet and healthcare.
I like that. It's a testament to their ambition and their willingness to tackle those huge, complicated problems. And that's what makes them so fascinating. They're not afraid to push boundaries, to experiment, even to fail sometimes, all in the name of creating something new and valuable.
So we've covered a lot from their early days to the latest innovations, from their dominance in e-commerce to those ambitious bets on the future. But there's one constant throughout their journey, that laser focus on the customer.
That's their secret sauce, their differentiator. It's about constantly asking, how can we make things better for the people who matter most? And that customer obsession is what drives everything they do, their innovation, their expansion, their long-term success.
It's like they've built this incredible feedback loop where they're constantly listening to customers, learning from what works and what doesn't, and then using that knowledge to build new products and services that make people's lives better.
And that's what makes them so interesting to watch. They're always pushing the envelope, always experimenting, always looking for new ways to delight their customers.
It's like they're in perpetual beta mode, always evolving, always adapting. That's how they stay so resilient, so successful.
Exactly. And it's not just about those big, flashy innovations. They're constantly making small tweaks and improvements based on what they hear from their customers. It's a culture of continuous improvement, always striving to be better. And that's something we can all learn from, no matter what we do.
So they're not perfect, but they're always trying to be better. And they're not afraid to try new things, to venture into the unknown, even if it means taking risks.
That's the spirit of innovation, right?
Yeah.
Embracing the unknown, experimenting, learning from both successes and failures. It's a valuable lesson for all of us.
Okay, we've talked a lot about what Amazon's doing right. But let's be real, no company is perfect. They've had their share of controversies and challenges over the years.
That's true. But for now, let's focus on what we can learn from their journey. What can we take away from their strategies, their way of thinking, their approach to innovation?
What lessons can we apply to our own businesses, our own careers, even our own lives?
That's a great question. And it's something to ponder as we head into the final part of our deep dive.
We'll be back soon to explore those lessons and wrap up our exploration of Amazon's 2022 shareholder letter. Okay, welcome back everyone for the final stretch of our deep dive into Amazon's 2022 shareholder letter. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? Their history, their current moves, all those future bets. But now I'm kind of wondering, what does it all mean, you know?
It's easy to get lost in the weeds sometimes, right? But you're right, we should zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. Why should any of this matter to the person listening right now? What's the takeaway?
Exactly, because knowing stuff is only cool if you can actually use it somehow. What can we actually learn from all of this?
So let's try to distill some of those key takeaways, some lessons we can all learn from Amazon's journey. What's really stood out to you so far?
Honestly, it's that long-term thinking. It's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. They're making decisions based on where they want to be in 5, 10, 20 years, not just what's going to look good next quarter.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it? In
Yeah.
today's world where everything feels so short-term, they're proving that playing the long game can still win big. Makes you wonder, what could you achieve if you applied that same long-term thinking to your own goals, right?
Yeah, it's a good reminder to step back, think about where you want to be down the line, and make choices that get you there. Another thing that really struck me was that customer obsession. It's not just talk. They're constantly looking for ways to improve things for their customers, even if it means shaking up their own business.
Yeah.
Like, they're not afraid to cannibalize themselves, you know?
Like that shift to a regionalized fulfillment network. That was a massive undertaking, but they did it because they knew it would mean faster shipping, more options, and
Yeah.
happier customers. It was about doing what was right for the customer, even if it meant more work on their end.
And it's not just the big splashy stuff either. They're always making small tweaks based on what they're hearing from customers. It's this culture of always asking, how can we do better? It's a mindset I think we could all benefit from no matter what we do.
Absolutely. Always be learning, always be improving. Another big takeaway for me is that willingness to embrace change. The world's not standing still. And Amazon's shown that being able to adapt is crucial for survival, maybe even more than survival, to actually thrive.
Yeah, they're not afraid to experiment, try new things, even if it means they might faceplant sometimes. There's something to be said for that.
Jassy actually talks about this in his letter. They're not afraid to, like, jettison programs that aren't working, but they learn from those experiences and they move on. It's that growth mindset in action.
So don't be afraid to try, don't be afraid to fail, but learn from it and keep moving forward.
Got it. And then there's that boldness. I mean, they're not just dipping their toes into new areas, they're diving in head first. AWS, healthcare, space, internet, these are huge swings.
They're not afraid to make big bets, even in areas that seem totally unrelated to their core business. I find it pretty inspiring. It makes you think, what could I accomplish if I was a little bolder, a little more willing to take a risk?
For sure. It's a good reminder to not limit yourself, to think big and go after those crazy goals. Because why not?
So we've got long-term thinking, customer obsession, embracing change, boldness, and a growth mindset. These aren't just trendy buzzwords, they're the principles that have fueled Amazon's success. And the cool thing is, they're principles we can all apply to our own lives.
It's like they've handed us this roadmap, this blueprint for success. Now it's up to us to take those lessons and actually put them into practice. Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. Amazon's story is still being written. They're constantly evolving, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Who knows what they'll come up with next?
One thing's for sure, they're not slowing down anytime soon. They're going to keep innovating, keep disrupting, keep pushing us all to think differently about what's possible. It's exciting in a way.
It is, and that's something we can all learn from and be inspired by. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Amazon. Hopefully you've picked up some valuable insights, some new ideas to chew on, and maybe even a little inspiration to take those Amazon principles and make them your own. We'll see you in the next Deep to Dive.